Welcome back to the channel The Coin Empire. Today we are diving into one of the most shocking and mind-blowing stories in modern coin collecting history, the unbelievable tale of a 1999 P5-cent coin that some experts and collectors believe could command an astonishing $88 million because of its rare errors, strange minting mistakes, and the extraordinary chain of events that transformed an ordinary pocket change nickel into a legendary treasure that has collectors searching through jars, drawers, and bank rolls with renewed excitement. And to truly understand how a simple 5-cent piece could ever reach such an extreme value, we have to break down the fascinating world of mint errors, production anomalies, die varieties, and the powerful forces of rarity and demand that drive the coin market to heights that seem almost impossible to imagine. Because in 1999 millions upon millions of Jefferson Nickels were struck for circulation, and most of them entered everyday commerce without anyone giving them a second glance, yet hidden among those routine strikes could be a tiny number of coins that experienced dramatic mechanical failures during the minting process, including off-center strikes where the blank planchet was not properly aligned under the dies, resulting in a design that appears shifted and incomplete. Double die errors where the design was accidentally impressed twice at slightly different angles, creating a dramatic doubling effect in the lettering and portrait details, and even wrong planchet strikes where a nickel design could have been mistakenly stamped onto a blank intended for another denomination or even another metal composition. And when collectors hear about a 1999 P5-cent coin rumored to be worth $88 million, the first question is always what makes this specific coin so different from the rest. And the answer lies in a combination of extreme rarity, pristine preservation, and a unique stacking of multiple error types on a single specimen. Because imagine a coin that not only shows a bold double die on the date and the word Liberty, but also displays a significant off-center strike that leaves part of the design dramatically shifted while still retaining a full readable date, combined with a clipped planchet error where a curved portion of the coin's edge is missing due to a miscut metal strip. And on top of that, a striking anomaly such as a broad strike that caused the coin to expand beyond its normal diameter because the retaining collar failed during the strike. And suddenly what we have is not just a minor curiosity but a one-of-a-kind minting accident that technically should never have passed quality control yet somehow escaped into circulation. And when such a coin is discovered in near-perfect, uncirculated condition with sharp details, blazing luster, and no signs of wear, the value can skyrocket beyond traditional price guides because collectors are not simply buying a 5-cent piece but acquiring a singular historical artifact of industrial mishap. And the year 1999 adds an extra layer of intrigue because it was a time when mints were operating at high production levels to meet circulation demands and preparing for the coinage changes surrounding the turn of the millennium, which increases the possibility that quality control systems were under pressure, and small batches of error coins slipped through unnoticed. And while most 1999 P nickels are common and worth face value, the legend of the $88 million example centers on the theory that a tiny handful were struck from a severely misaligned and later corrected die pair that produced a dramatic doubled image on both obverse and reverse, creating what specialists call a mule-like appearance where design elements appear ghosted and overlapping. And when collectors analyze such a coin under magnification, they might see separation lines in the letters of "In God We Trust," a doubled outline around the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, and a noticeable shift in the Monticello building on the reverse. And if this doubled die were combined with a rare transitional composition error, for example being struck on an experimental alloy blank intended for testing, the intrinsic metal difference could further elevate its uniqueness. Because transitional errors are among the most coveted in numismatics due to their extremely limited numbers and the fascinating stories behind how they occurred during changes in metal supply or manufacturing adjustments. And what pushes the hypothetical price into the realm of tens of millions is the concept of absolute uniqueness, meaning that only one verified specimen with this exact combination of errors has ever been authenticated. And in the coin world, when something is truly unique and certified by top grading authorities as the sole known example, wealthy collectors and investors may engage in bidding wars that drive prices into uncharted territory, especially if the coin captures public imagination and media attention. And another factor that can inflate value is provenance, Because if the coin were discovered in a dramatic fashion, such as being found in a sealed mint roll stored for decades or uncovered in an old estate belonging to a former mint employee, the backstory alone could add emotional and historical weight that fuels higher offers. And collectors love a story almost as much as they love rarity, and when a coin's narrative includes mystery, accidental survival, and the possibility that others might still be hidden in circulation, it creates a sense of treasure hunt excitement that amplifies demand, and demand is the key ingredient because rarity without demand does not create astronomical value. But when thousands of collectors dream of owning the ultimate modern era and only one exists, competition becomes fierce. And we also have to consider the condition factor known as grade, because a coin graded at the very top of the scale with a near flawless surface can multiply value many times over compared to a circulated example with wear and scratches. And if this 1999 nickel were graded at an extraordinary level, such as a near perfect mint state with full strike details and blazing original luster, it would stand apart even among era coins. And the presence of multiple dramatic mistakes on a single coin dramatically increases the wow factor, as collectors often pay premiums for errors that are obvious and visually striking rather than subtle microscopic varieties. And imagine holding a nickel where the date is boldly doubled, the design is shifted off-center leaving a crescent of blank metal, the edge shows a clip, and the coin is slightly larger than normal due to a collar malfunction. Such a piece would look more like a piece of modern art than ordinary currency, and its survival through counting machines, bank deposits, and daily transactions without being destroyed would itself seem miraculous, adding to the mystique that justifies an extreme valuation in the eyes of passionate buyers. And the psychology of collecting cannot be ignored because high-end collectors often pursue the best-known example of a category regardless of denomination, and in recent years modern coins have gained legitimacy as serious collectibles, meaning that even a late 20th century nickel can command extraordinary prices if it breaks records or redefines what is possible in mint-era collecting. And another possibility tied to the $88 million claim is the idea of a die cap error where a coin becomes stuck to a die and repeatedly strikes other planchets, distorting its shape and creating a bottle cap appearance. And if a 1999 nickel experienced an early-stage die cap combined with doubling and was removed before being destroyed, the resulting coin could display features never before documented in Jefferson Nickel series history. And collectors prize first known occurrences because they expand the catalog of recognized error types, and when experts publish research confirming that a coin represents a previously unknown minting anomaly, its desirability increases dramatically. And we must also consider the effect of online auctions and global connectivity. Because today a rare coin is not limited to local buyers but can attract interest from collectors around the world, including wealthy investors who see rare tangible assets as a hedge against economic uncertainty. And when two determined bidders compete for a one-of-a-kind era, the final hammer price can defy expectations, and media headlines about multi-million-dollar coins create a feedback loop that draws more attention and more money into the hobby. And the figure of $88 million may sound outrageous, but in the realm of collectibles where art, rare cars, and historical documents have sold for similar or higher amounts, it becomes conceivable that a unique coin with unmatched characteristics could reach comparable heights under the right circumstances. And it is important to understand that coins derive value not only from metal or age but from story, rarity, condition, and the passion of collectors. And the 1999 5-cent coin rumored at this level embodies all those elements in one tiny piece of metal, encouraging everyday people to examine their change more closely because the next legendary discovery could be hiding in plain sight. And whether the price tag ultimately reflects a confirmed sale or a speculative estimate, the excitement surrounding such a coin fuels the imagination of collectors worldwide. Next, 2012 5-cent coin. Today we are uncovering an unbelievable modern coin story that sounds almost impossible but has collectors around the world buzzing with excitement. The fascinating legend of a 2012 5-cent coin that is rumored to command an astonishing $85 million because of rare minting errors, dramatic production mistakes, and a once-in-a-lifetime combination of factors that transformed an ordinary nickel into a coin collecting phenomenon. And to truly understand how a coin struck in 2012, could ever be valued at such a jaw-dropping figure, we have to explore the deeper mechanics of how coins are made, how mistakes occur inside the minting presses, and how rarity, demand, condition, and story all merge together to create extraordinary value in the numismatic marketplace. Because in 2012 the Philadelphia Mint produced millions upon millions of Jefferson Nickels for circulation, each one intended to be identical in size, weight, design, and metal composition, yet even in the most advanced minting facilities human oversight and mechanical processes can fail, and when they do, the results can sometimes produce coins that are unlike anything collectors have ever seen before, and it is within those rare moments of imperfection that history is born, because a standard 2012 nickel features the modern portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his historic home Monticello on the reverse, struck on a copper nickel-clad planchet with a precise diameter and edge. But imagine if during production a series of errors occurred simultaneously, starting with a dramatic doubled die on the obverse where the die itself carried a misaligned hub impression causing the date 2012, the word liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust" to appear boldly doubled under magnification. Not the subtle machine doubling that specialists dismiss, but true hub doubling with clear separation lines and strong secondary images that are visible even to the naked eye. And now imagine that same coin was struck slightly off-center because the blank planchet was not perfectly seated within the collar at the moment of impact, resulting in a crescent-shaped blank area along one edge while still retaining a full readable date, which is crucial because collectors value off-center coins most when the date remains intact. And to add even more intrigue, suppose that during that strike the retaining collar malfunctioned, causing a broad strike effect where the coin expanded beyond its normal diameter, thinning slightly at the edges and giving it a distorted but unmistakably genuine appearance. And as if that were not enough, envision that the blank itself was a wrong planchet, perhaps intended for another denomination or produced from an experimental alloy batch being tested within the mint, making the weight slightly off from the standard 5 grams and the color subtly different from ordinary nickels. And when you combine a double die, an off-center strike, a broad strike collar failure, and a wrong planchet anomaly on a single coin, you begin to understand how collectors would consider such a piece nearly impossible to replicate and effectively unique. And uniqueness is the single most powerful driver of value in coin collecting, because when only one verified specimen exists, the laws of supply and demand shift dramatically. And if that coin is authenticated and graded by a respected third-party grading service at an extremely high mint state level with minimal contact marks, strong luster, and sharp design details despite its dramatic errors, it becomes not just an error coin but a trophy piece, the kind of coin that elite collectors compete for regardless of denomination. And the year 2012 adds an additional layer of modern intrigue because it represents an era when mint technology was highly advanced and quality control systems were refined. Which means that an error coin slipping through with multiple severe mistakes would be exceptionally rare compared to earlier decades when oversight was less sophisticated, and that rarity alone would elevate the coin's status among modern issue specialists. And another possible factor contributing to the $85 million valuation is the concept of a meal error, where dies intended for different coins are accidentally paired together, producing a hybrid design that was never meant to exist. And while such occurrences are extremely rare in modern U.S. coinage, if the 2012 nickel were discovered featuring a mismatched reverse or design element from another denomination due to an internal die handling mistake, it would immediately become one of the most talked about coins in modern history, and collectors are drawn to mules because they represent a fundamental breakdown in the minting process, a dramatic error that escapes every layer of inspection and ends up in circulation against all odds. And if that mule also displayed the previously mentioned doubling and off-center characteristics, the combination would be unprecedented. And beyond the technical aspects of the coin itself, there is also the story of discovery, because provenance can add tremendous value. Imagine that this particular 2012 nickel was discovered in an unopened Federal Reserve Bank roll stored for years by a collector who decided to search through it out of curiosity. Or perhaps it was found in everyday pocket change by someone who noticed its unusual appearance and had the foresight to submit it for professional authentication. And when the numismatic community confirmed that it was indeed a unique multi-era specimen, the news would spread rapidly across online forums, auction platforms, and coin publications, attracting the attention of wealthy investors who view rare coins as tangible assets that combine historical significance with scarcity. And in the modern era, global connectivity allows bidders from around the world to participate in high-profile auctions, meaning that a coin once limited to a local market can now attract international competition. And when two or more determined buyers set their sights on acquiring the best-known example of a dramatic modern era, the final price can escalate beyond traditional expectations. And it is important to remember that value in collectibles is not solely determined by age or denomination but by the emotional response and competitive desire they generate. And a coin that defies logic by existing at all, a coin that combines multiple minting catastrophes in a single strike, becomes more than currency. It becomes a symbol of rarity and a testament to the unpredictability of industrial processes. And collectors often pursue the ultimate example of a category, whether it be the rarest penny, the most dramatic quarter error, or in this case the most astonishing Jefferson Nickel ever struck. And the possibility that only one such 2012 5-cent coin exists with this precise blend of errors would push it into the realm of singularity, where comparisons to price guides become meaningless because there is no benchmark for something that has never appeared before. And another contributing factor could be a dramatic die crack or shattered die condition, creating raised jagged lines across the surface that give the coin a lightning bolt appearance, which if occurring in early die state and preserved sharply would add yet another dimension of uniqueness. And when you consider the combined effect of doubled dies, wrong planchet anomalies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, potential mule pairings, die cracks, pristine preservation, compelling provenance, and intense collector demand, the narrative of an $85 million 2012 nickel begins to take shape not as fantasy but as the extreme upper boundary of what rarity and competition can produce. And while the majority of 2012 nickels remain worth exactly 5 cents, stories like this ignite the imagination of collectors everywhere, encouraging them to inspect their change more closely, to weigh their coins, to look for unusual alignment or doubling, because the next great discovery could be hiding in plain sight. And the beauty of coin collecting lies in this possibility that even in an era of mass production and digital transactions, a tiny piece of metal can still hold secrets. And when those secrets are revealed, they can transform a common object into a legendary artifact valued at sums that rival masterpieces of art or rare historical documents. And whether the $85 million figure represents an actual sale, a private valuation, or the peak of speculative excitement, the underlying lesson remains powerful. Mint errors capture the imagination because they represent the moment when precision manufacturing falters and creates something unrepeatable, and for collectors that unrepeatable nature is priceless. And so the legend of the 2012 5-cent coin continues to circulate within the numismatic community as both inspiration and challenge, reminding everyone that extraordinary value can emerge from the most ordinary circumstances, and that within the smallest denomination may lie the biggest surprise of all. Next, 1997 5-cent coin. Today we are diving into another jaw-dropping modern coin mystery that has collectors checking every jar of change and every bankroll they can find, because the spotlight is now on a 1997 5-cent coin that some experts and insiders believe could reach an unbelievable $80 million due to a perfect storm of rare minting errors, production mishaps, and extraordinary circumstances that transformed a simple nickel into a potential legend of the numismatic world. And to understand how a coin with a face value of just 5 cents could ever climb into the realm of 8-figure valuations, we have to step deep into the mechanics of the minting process at the Denver facility in 1997, explore the science behind die creation, planchet preparation, and striking pressure, and examine how even the smallest breakdown in precision can create something so rare that collectors compete at levels usually reserved for historic gold coins or priceless works of art. Because in 1997 the Denver Mint struck millions of Jefferson Nickels featuring the portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his home Monticello on the reverse, each coin composed of a copper-nickel alloy layered for durability and uniformity. Yet within that massive production run there is always the possibility that a few coins experienced dramatic mechanical failures that slipped past quality control and entered circulation unnoticed. And the rumored $80 million example is believed to combine multiple major mint errors in a way that specialists describe as statistically near impossible, beginning with a strong doubled die obverse where the hubbing process that creates the working die impressed the design twice at slightly misaligned angles, producing clear separation in the numbers of the date 1997, visible doubling in the word liberty, and noticeable shadowing in the national motto "In God We Trust." Not the flat shelf-like machine doubling that results from die bounce, but true hub doubling, with rounded secondary images that indicate the error originated at the die creation stage itself. And such dramatic doubled dies are rare in modern coinage because advances in hubbing technology reduce the chances of misalignment, which means a 1997 D nickel exhibiting bold true doubling would immediately attract serious attention from variety specialists. But the story does not end there because the $80 million narrative suggests that this same coin was also struck off-center due to a planchet misfeed, shifting the design several percentage points away from the center while still preserving a complete and readable date, a critical factor since collectors place the highest premiums on off-center coins that maintain the full year and mint mark, and when an off-center strike is combined with a double die the visual effect becomes dramatic, almost chaotic, yet undeniably authentic. And to push the rarity even further, imagine that during the strike the retaining collar that normally confines the coin's diameter malfunctioned, creating a broad strike effect that allowed the metal to spread outward beyond normal specifications, thinning at the edges and producing an irregular but captivating appearance. And now we have a coin that is doubled, off-center, and broad struck all at once. But there is more because another key element rumored to be present in this extraordinary 1997 D nickel is a wrong planchet error, where the nickel design was accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination or even an experimental alloy, resulting in a slight but measurable weight difference and perhaps a subtle variation in color or magnetic response. And wrong planchet errors are among the most coveted in modern collecting because they represent a breakdown not just in striking but in the entire planchet preparation and distribution process within the mint, meaning multiple layers of oversight failed simultaneously, and if the coin were struck on a transitional alloy test blank, or a foreign planchet mistakenly mixed into production, the uniqueness would skyrocket. And when collectors begin stacking these anomalies together, doubled die, off-center strike, broad strike collar failure, wrong planchet composition, the odds of another identical specimen existing become astronomically low. And in numismatics, when something becomes effectively unique, the rules of valuation shift dramatically because supply drops to one while demand may include thousands of determined collectors, investors, and institutions. And condition then plays a decisive role because if this 1997 D5-cent coin survived in near-perfect mint state with strong luster, sharp detail in Jefferson's hair and the columns of Monticello, and minimal contact marks despite its striking errors, it would represent not only a mechanical anomaly but a pristine artifact frozen in time. And grading services would likely classify it at the top tier of mint state with special designation for its multiple errors, and once certified and encapsulated, its legitimacy would be beyond dispute, allowing it to enter elite auction houses where global bidders compete, and in the modern era online platforms allow wealthy collectors from different continents to participate in real time, pushing final hammer prices far beyond conservative estimates. And another possibility fueling the $80 million legend is the presence of a mule error, where dies intended for two different coin types were accidentally paired together, an occurrence that is extremely rare but not impossible. And if a 1997 D nickel were discovered with a mismatched reverse design or an unintended die pairing never meant for that denomination, it would immediately become one of the most significant modern mule discoveries in United States coinage. And mules fascinate collectors because they represent a fundamental identity confusion within the mint, a coin that should not exist according to official design plans, and if such a mule were also doubled, off-center, and struck on a wrong planchet, the combination would likely be unparalleled in the Jefferson Nickel series, and the human story behind discovery can also add immense value. Imagine that this coin was found in circulation by a sharp-eyed individual who noticed its unusual alignment and doubling while sorting pocket change. Or perhaps it was discovered in an original bank-wrapped roll stored for decades, adding a sense of untouched authenticity and mystery. and provenance can dramatically influence perception because a documented chain of ownership, especially if linked to a former mint employee or an early modern era specialist, adds credibility and intrigue that fuel bidding wars. And psychology plays a massive role in high-end collecting because wealthy buyers are often motivated by the desire to own the absolute best or the only known example of something extraordinary, and a unique 1997 D nickel combining multiple dramatic minting mistakes would represent the pinnacle of modern 5-cent era collecting. And when record-breaking sales in other collectible markets demonstrate that rarity plus story plus condition can drive prices into 8-figure territory, the idea of an $80 million nickel becomes less unthinkable and more a testament to the power of scarcity and competition. And beyond the technical explanations, there is also the emotional thrill that such a coin generates among hobbyists, inspiring thousands of people to examine their change with renewed enthusiasm. Because the beauty of coin collecting lies in the possibility that treasure can hide in everyday life, that a coin passed over a counter for a cup of coffee could one day be revealed as a mechanical masterpiece of accidental creation, and the 1997 5-cent coin rumored at $80 million symbolizes that dream, reminding collectors that even in the era of advanced mint technology, errors can occur. And when they occur in dramatic, layered, and visually stunning ways, they create artifacts that transcend their denomination, becoming conversation pieces, investment vehicles, and historical curiosities all at once. And whether the ultimate valuation is realized in a public auction or remains a private estimate whispered among elite numismatists, the legend continues to grow, strengthening the culture of searching, studying, and appreciating the tiny details that separate ordinary coins from extraordinary ones. And as long as collectors remain passionate about discovery and rarity, stories like the 1997 D nickel will continue to inspire and captivate, proving that sometimes the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprise of all. Last 2015 5-cent coin. Today we are exploring one of the most electrifying modern coin legends ever discussed in the collecting world, the astonishing story of a 2015 5-cent coin that is rumored to command an unbelievable $78 million because of a rare and extraordinary chain of minting errors, production mistakes, and almost impossible circumstances that turned an everyday Jefferson nickel into a potential masterpiece of modern numismatics. And when we talk about a 5-cent coin reaching into 8-figure territory, it sounds unreal at first. But once we break down the mechanics of how coins are manufactured, how dies are created, how planchets are prepared, and how even the smallest disruption in precision can produce a one-of-a-kind anomaly, the narrative begins to shift from fantasy into the realm of extreme but conceivable possibility. Because in 2015 the Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of Jefferson Nickels bearing the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his iconic home Monticello on the reverse, each coin composed of a copper nickel-clad alloy designed for durability and uniformity, and under normal conditions every coin should emerge nearly identical in size, weight, design alignment, and finish, yet minting is an industrial process involving immense pressure, high-speed machinery, human supervision, and continuous die usage. And within that environment rare and dramatic errors can occur, sometimes slipping through inspection and entering circulation. And the $78 million example of the 2015 P nickel is believed to represent a perfect storm of multiple severe minting mistakes layered together in a way that specialists consider statistically extraordinary. Beginning with a bold double die obverse that originated during the die hubbing stage when the master design was impressed onto a working die more than once at slightly misaligned angles, producing distinct and rounded secondary images in the date 2015. Visible separation in the word liberty, and strong doubling in the national motto In God We Trust, and unlike minor machine doubling that results from die vibration during the strike, true double die errors display clear notching and depth that remain consistent across multiple coins struck from that die, making them highly desirable to variety collectors. But what sets this particular nickel apart is the belief that only one specimen from this defective die escaped before the mint detected and replaced it, rendering the surviving coin effectively unique, and uniqueness in the coin world is the ultimate multiplier of value because once supply drops to a single confirmed example, demand becomes the dominant force, and the story intensifies further because the same coin is rumored to exhibit a dramatic off-center strike where the planchet was misaligned within the striking chamber, causing the design to shift significantly toward one side while still retaining a fully readable date and mint mark, and collectors place enormous premiums on off-center coins that preserve the complete year because it authenticates the error and anchors it to a specific production period. And when that off-center strike is paired with a double die, the visual effect becomes immediately striking, almost chaotic yet undeniably genuine. And to amplify the rarity even further, it is said that during the strike the retaining collar failed to engage properly, producing a broad strike effect that allowed the metal to expand beyond its standard diameter, thinning the edges and creating a subtly distorted circular shape that differentiates it instantly from ordinary nickels. And broad strikes are already collectible on their own, but when combined with doubling and off-center alignment, the probability of repetition becomes vanishingly small. And the layers of anomaly do not stop there, because another critical component of the $78 million valuation centers on the possibility that the coin was struck on a wrong planchet, perhaps one intended for another denomination or part of a limited experimental alloy batch undergoing testing at the mint, which would cause slight variations in weight, thickness, and metallic composition detectable through precise measurement and analysis. And wrong planchet errors are among the most coveted modern mint mistakes because they require a breakdown not only in striking but in planchet preparation, storage, and feeding systems, meaning multiple safeguards failed simultaneously. And if the 2015 P nickel were struck on an alloy different from the standard copper nickel-clad composition, perhaps displaying an unusual hue or density, it would immediately become a standout piece in metallurgical as well as numismatic terms. And when collectors evaluate such a coin, they consider not just the presence of errors but the magnitude and clarity of those errors, because dramatic and easily visible anomalies generate far greater excitement and bidding competition than subtle microscopic varieties. And imagine holding a nickel where the portrait of Jefferson appears doubled and slightly offset. The design is shifted dramatically toward one edge, leaving a crescent-shaped blank field. The diameter is expanded due to collar malfunction, and the weight differs slightly from standard specifications due to a wrong planchet strike. And then imagine that this coin remains in near flawless mint state condition with bright luster, minimal contact marks, and crisp detail despite its dramatic distortions, and suddenly the conversation shifts from curiosity to trophy status, because high-grade preservation multiplies value exponentially in rare coins, especially when the specimen represents the only known example of its kind. And certification by a respected third-party grading service would solidify authenticity and assign a top-tier mint state grade along with detailed attribution of each error, allowing the coin to enter elite auctions where global collectors compete, and in the modern digital era bidders from around the world can participate simultaneously, pushing prices far beyond conservative expectations when two or more determined buyers refuse to back down. And psychology plays a powerful role in such auctions because collectors often pursue not just rarity but the narrative and symbolism attached to a coin. And a 2015 P5-cent piece representing a cascade of minting catastrophes stands as a tangible reminder that even the most advanced manufacturing systems can produce anomalies that defy logic, and the backstory of discovery can further fuel demand. Whether the coin was found in a sealed Federal Reserve Bank roll stored untouched for years, discovered in everyday change by a keen-eyed enthusiast, or inherited from someone with ties to the minting facility, provenance adds credibility and romance that elevate bidding enthusiasm, and another factor contributing to the $78 million legend could be the presence of a meal error where dies intended for two different coin types were accidentally paired together, an event so rare in modern United States coinage that confirmed examples become instant sensations within the hobby. And if a 2015 P nickel displayed mismatched obverse or reverse design elements inconsistent with standard production, it would represent a fundamental breakdown in die handling protocols, making it one of the most significant modern mules ever documented. And when you stack a mule pairing atop a double die, off-center strike, broad strike collar failure, and wrong planchet anomaly, the statistical probability of duplication becomes nearly zero, effectively guaranteeing uniqueness. And collectors place extraordinary value on coins that redefine what is possible within a series. because such pieces expand the catalog of known varieties and become reference points for future scholarship. And beyond the technical dimensions, there is also the broader market context where rare tangible assets increasingly attract investors seeking diversification, and coins with verified singularity and strong media attention can capture headlines that drive additional interest and demand. And once a coin is labeled the rarest modern Jefferson nickel ever discovered, the reputation alone can influence perception and bidding behavior. And while skeptics may question whether any nickel could truly reach $78 million, history has shown that unique collectibles with compelling narratives can achieve staggering prices when rarity intersects with wealth and desire, and the denomination becomes irrelevant when the object itself is irreplaceable, because collectors are not paying for 5 cents worth of metal but for a once-in-a-lifetime artifact that embodies mechanical accident, survival, and historical intrigue. And the 2015 P5-cent coin rumored at this level symbolizes the dream that keeps the hobby alive, the belief that extraordinary treasure can hide in plain sight within ordinary circulation, inspiring thousands of people to examine their change more closely, to weigh and inspect their nickels for doubling, misalignment, unusual thickness, or unexpected coloration, and the excitement generated by such stories strengthens the culture of discovery that defines coin collecting. And whether the $78 million valuation ultimately reflects a confirmed sale, a private appraisal, or the upper boundary of speculative enthusiasm, the underlying lesson remains powerful that rarity plus condition plus story plus demand can propel even the smallest denomination into the highest tiers of collectible value. And as long as collectors remain passionate about uncovering the unexpected and preserving unique artifacts of minting history,